another edition of Radio Waves. My name is Mike Stark.
And I'm Richard Wagoner.
And we are doing this Facebook Live today. We tried it once before, and it was a complete disaster. But we're going to try it again because we got some...
You learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, well, I don't know if we do, but we're going to try. We got some important news, some kind of news that hits home to us here at the studio. But we're going to deal with the other stories that are in your column first. And actually, in the scope of things, I think the big story is the iHeart story.
Yeah, Jerry Del Cogliano.
You'll get it
inside,
right.
I know, it is Del Cogliano.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Did I spell it right?
Yeah, looks like
looks
it.
Right. And this is my mistake. I used to think it was Inside Radio that he did. He did start Inside Radio, but that apparently got taken over by iHeart a while back. So now he does InsideMusicMedia.com. So I do want to credit the correct website. He is predicting that by tomorrow, this is Wednesday, February 28th, and tomorrow is Thursday, March 1st. He was predicting that possibly as early as tomorrow, iHeart will be bankrupt.
How many times have we heard this story before, though?
Well, we've always been hearing that they will go bankrupt eventually. I mean, when you owe $20 billion in debt and you're doing nothing to actually figure out a way to pay for it, it's going to happen. Just a matter of when. And they kept kicking the debt further down the road, and apparently now it's just hit the fan. So,
and what will
apparently they're represented by the same lawyers that worked this out for Cumulus.
And what will happen here? What will we see?
You know, he says it's going to be a mess, and it probably will be. One of the differences between iHeart and some other companies is they're not actually public.
Okay.
Remember, they took it under. That's one of the
right.
reasons they have the debt.
Right.
But here's the thing that I just don't get, and it actually tied in and why I mentioned the Emmis thing later. Emmis sold Power 106. Not that they wanted to. They needed to raise funds to pay down their debt, and their debt is reasonably, I forget what it is. It's probably in the column. It's not that much, though,
right.
Especially in comparison. They are a smaller company as
well.
They
owe $80 million, according to your column.
So $80 million, and I think Power 106, when they sold it, it cut about half of it out, and they sold some stations in where is it, St. Louis, I believe it is.
Yes,
and that'll cut almost all of it. I think they sold for $60 million, so minus commissions, that'll probably all go down to the debt. They're doing what you would expect someone who owes a lot of money or a company that owes a lot of money to do, sell off your assets until you can pay off the debt. I don't understand why iHeart's creditors don't just say, sell your properties until you pay us back. I don't get why they're allowed to. I mean, any bankruptcy is going to screw over every one of their investors, even the ones that make out good. The ones that are holding the lower end of the bonds are going to be screwed over royally. But why aren't they allowed? Why are they allowed to continue operating the way they are, owning so many stations? I mean, how do you not? To me, it shows how stupidly they're run and how the model just can't work. You are basically a monopoly, and you still can't make money,
right,
to pay off your debt. Something's weird, and they have so devalued radio that it's a shame. And the other thing that's a shame is there's a lot of good people at iHeart as well. And they're going to be screwed by this bankruptcy too. Del Cogliano is actually predicting that they're going to make cuts that they wouldn't otherwise be able to fathom. So who knows what's really going to happen, but I think in the end you're going to end up with a company that maybe they will have to sell stuff off, and then we'll get to our utopian dream of having everything local again.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we've talked about this since the inception of this podcast because it's been an issue since then.
Yeah,
pretty much, and that's we're in our. Where are we? 200 shows, 200 plus, and still, they're operating as they normally have, as if nothing's going on and nothing's going to happen.
And when they first went private, that was supposed to take care of all these issues too. One of the big problems was that all of the cost savings that they expected to have by consolidating never came true.
Right.
It was basically a false promise.
Wow.
You can't do it. And the way they ended up doing it, it actually lowered revenue. You took away your station's manager, and you did it as a group cluster. Well, when you end up having something, that's the whole reason that General Motors had combined things because they could do economies of scale and,
Sure.
and make money selling. At one time they were trying to build up more and more cars, but the idea is that you could save money across the board and get greater market share. But in radio, when you have one person running 4 stations or 5 stations or 6 stations or whatever it is,
Sure.
they can't put their effort on all of them. And the advertisers basically end up saying, well, you own this many stations, I want a deal.
Right.
And the companies are so desperate, they come to the advertisers and say, hey, what if we put you on 7 stations instead of just 1? Can you come to here? They undercut themselves.
Right.
So it never would have worked if anyone really analyzed it, but everyone bought into it from the FCC down to the investors.
And the quality of the advertiser goes way, way, way down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
To me, it's just like, okay, let's get rid of this thing. Let's blow the whole thing up and start over.
okay, now Emmis. Emmis is in the news. You mentioned.
Well, we pretty
it.
much mentioned it. They're just selling their St. Louis stations and to pay down their debt. And the only reason I mentioned it is in comparison to iHeart. Emmis is doing the right thing,
Right.
and it's unfortunate in a way because Emmis is not that bad of a company.
Right.
It's a small company, and they pretty much try to treat their employees well. So to the point of when they sold Power 106, they actually worked with the company buying them to keep their employees there.
Wow. Yeah.
That's unheard of.
Absolutely. Okay, now to the big story that actually I want to say right out front that I did not ask Richard to write this story. He did it on his own. He felt it was radio news. And it must have been a slow news week. But
Well, it's an important story, and it's actually something that's happening right now, so it is timely.
yeah, and we haven't really talked about this, but we are sitting on the, many of you know, we're sitting on the water in the harbor of.
Well, not on the water.
Well, not on
just
the
off
water.
the water.
Yeah, we can look out the window and we see the water in the L.A. harbor.
We're not floating in it.
We're in Portugal Village. Portugal Village is being redeveloped, and now there is a chance that we might be going away because of this redevelopment.
Right.
Now, my partner in the studio, Jamie Wilson, is still in negotiations with the port. I don't really know too much. I'd rather not know too much.
Right.
It's better that I not know anything. But we built this studio 8 years ago, and it's a beautiful studio, and there is a chance that we may lose it.
Right.
So that's the heart of the rest of the column, and the column just basically tells you everything that you probably already know about us, that we have other podcasts going on here, and that we do work with Cal State Long Beach, and I loved what you put in the column, that this is a public service, because it certainly is a public service.
Yeah.
There's no money being made here. We pretty much everything we do, we'd like to make money, but we're not making any money.
And it's not inexpensive to run.
No, it's very.
You're actually paying for the internet bandwidth. You're paying for all the equipment, the maintenance, the
right.
whatever else.
But everything's kind of paid for. The only monthly overhead we have is basically the phones and the internet. So we're operating, and we'd operate forever, but there's a chance we may go away.
Right.
So consequently, Richard did this fine article about about our situation, and I would only ask that everybody find the article. I've got it posted on LA Radio Waves on Facebook. I've got it posted on the LA Radio Studio page and on my own personal Facebook page. And I just ask that you take a read of it and give us some feedback and let us know what you think. The other thing I would say to you, and we have a lot of radio people that actually listen to this podcast. So I would say, if nothing else, in the next month or so, if you can get down here and visit our facility, just come visit.
Yeah.
We'd like to have you. If you can come down on a Wednesday, you can be part of our Radio Wave show.
Yeah.
I just would like you to see what we've built here and what's going on here, so that, when there is a plan of action, which we don't have at this point, we can maybe put something into action at that point.
What would be great is what there's slight rumblings of this. I don't know how far it'll go, but I think as they redevelop the port, what a great opportunity this would be to be the beacon of information regarding everything from this area.
Right.
Port of Los Angeles, San Pedro,
and
Los
the new
Angeles
development.
itself, and the new development.
Yeah.
We could broadcast of the live concerts that they are going to have an open air studio, I believe, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what
the summer venue or something like that. It's supposed to be. It's going to be the San Pedro Marketplace or something like that.
Exactly.
And I think this would just be an amazing thing to have. We could even tie it in more with Long Beach or even the local high schools.
Yeah, and I think because what we do here is kind of worldwide, it would bring a focus to this area that.
Right.
Which we have been doing for the last 8 years. Right. Every show that's here, when they sit in the studio and a big ship goes by, there is a reference to the port.
Right.
And what's going on here. And if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see Thrasher and the Poor Man talking about seeing a boat go by.
Yeah.
And we promote the port an awful lot. And it would really be a shame if...
And the opportunities that are there for other things. Can you imagine? It used to be that they do shows like Ask the Mayor on KNX and things like
that.
Which were very kind of, in a way, short form because they had to limit the time.
Sure.
We could actually do more here with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the audience, it could actually be a revolution in podcast and politics.
Yeah, absolutely. Well... We just wanted to get the word out, and again, we're not asking for any action plan at this point, but we would like you, as radio people especially, to come down. If you haven't been to the studio, many of you have. We've had a lot of guests in here from the radio business. If you haven't been down to the studio, we have a real open door policy here. People walk in during shows, in fact. We don't always like that, but that's the way
it is.
Yeah, it depends on who it is. Yeah, we've had some people we didn't want to walk in here, but if you're part of the radio community, we'd love to have you come down and see our facility and hang out with us and participate. And we're going to be here for a little while, and we'll keep you updated on what's happening.
Maybe even do a career-spanning interview.
Yeah. Absolutely. There you go. Yep. That's how we sneak them down here to get those interviews. Come see our facility. And by the way, let's talk about your life. I think that'd be fun.
Have a seat. Why am I wearing these headphones?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Again, Richard, thank you for doing that for us. And again, we did not solicit that. Richard felt it was important enough to write about, and we appreciate it. And we will keep you updated. Right. All right. That's it for this week.
That's it.
And we'll have more happy news next week.
Right.